Now we're returning to what we began for these last few days. And what did we begin the last few days? We're talking about the Jewish people and how the Jewish people are called in the Song of Songs, are called God's brother. And we're saying especially the Jews were called God's brother in the, it was revealed in the Holy Temple. When in the Holy Temple, there was the ark where the tablets were kept. And on this ark was a covering. It was made of gold on the covering. And from this covering was pounded out two like angels with wings spread out. Wings spread out. And they were facing each other. And the Rebbe explained that this is the Torah. That the Torah. And the Torah, one face was God giving the Torah to us. And the other face was how we return the Torah to God. How do we return the Torah to God? By using it. The reason God gave the Torah was so that we would use it. We would learn it. And we would do the commandments that are in it. And that makes us, so to speak, on an equal footing with God. That's what happened when God gave the Torah. Now, this, of course, doesn't make any sense. How can we be on an equal footing of God? But that's Judaism. That's exactly the point of Judaism. The point of Judaism is that the Torah is the essence of God. The Torah is the essence of God. And the Jewish people are also the essence of God. The Jewish people are brothers with God. They're one with God. They're the sons of God. And it says that the Jews are a portion of God. Chelek Hashem Amo. So what the Rebbe is trying to do is trying to reorient us to make us look at the world in a little bit different way, or maybe in a totally different way, to see the importance of the Jews and the Torah and the world. And to make us realize that God is not what the world thinks it is. The God the Jews worship is not the same God. It might be an aspect of him, but he's not the same God as all of the other religions worship. Because the God of Israel is manifested in the Torah, and not only is it manifested in the Torah that it's a book from God, but it is a book of God. The Torah itself is pure godliness, but we don't see it, we don't feel it. Maybe some people do, but pure godliness is not what we think. What was in the Holy of Holies in the temple was the tablets. Were the tablets? What's the whole story of the Jewish people? They got out of Egypt. And they were taken to this big mountain and they received the Torah. They received 2 tablets and then they received all these laws. They received eventually a big scroll. The whole thing with Moses was the Torah. It's the Ikra, the Torah. And that same exact Torah we have now, but that's not enough. When we learn the Torah, we unite with God. So that's what it says. When the Jewish people are called in the time of the Holy Temple, when there was the ark, and on the ark were these 2 angels, the faces were statues of angels looking at each other, as that was like the Torah, how God unites with us with the Torah and how we give the Torah back to him. But now the temple is not here, and the ark is concealed. It's concealed down deep. It says underneath where the temple was. It's down deep, concealed, and so but it's still there, but it's concealed. So being concealed is almost the same thing as not being there. Almost, it's like a person that's a billionaire, but he can't take the money out of the bank. But it's there. It's his. Right? When's he going to get it out? Any second now. We've been saying that for the last 2,000 years. Last 2,000 years. Any second now, we're going to take it out. Okay. So says the Rebbe. That's what King Solomon meant when he said. Here we go. Ready? Let's look at this. King Solomon's Song of Songs. Now, by the way, there's people that they make comments on these classes, which is good. People listen to the classes and they make comments. And they tell me about how I don't understand the Torah and I'm misunderstanding it and that I'm stupid and then that's, which they can say whatever they want to. But these same people, they have to look at the commentaries. You can't put yourself on an equal footing with all of the great commentaries, Rashi and these other people. At least look to see what they say. At least they say, I'm sorry to say this is not a nice thing, but there's truly, the King Solomon was so wise that he was wiser than a fool. Was that because a fool is a person that thinks he's wiser than everybody else? He thinks he knows more than everybody else. But King Solomon was so wise that even fools say, okay, I'm wiser than everybody else, but he's an exception. Well, today that they have people that they think they're wiser than King Solomon. So you have to look at the explanations, and especially when it comes to the Song of Songs. But there's explanations which are available to everybody. There's Rashi. I think these are translated also. Okay, anyway, you buy these books, like I said before, you have this old art scroll Tanakh. See, I think it's backwards by you, at least by me, it appears. And there's other also legitimate explanations of the Torah so that people don't bumble around and just, think that they're better than everybody else, which maybe you are better than everybody else, but at least find out what everybody else says before you jump to these conclusions. Okay, so here it says, what does it say in the Song of Songs? God is saying, who will give you to be a what's this? This is not the sentence. What's this? That's not the sentence. 1 second. What's going on with it? What's this? 1 minute. 1 minute. Oh, token. This is not the sentence. Okay. This is just an explanation. I got the wrong one. Okay. Here, he doesn't bring down the exact sentence. He brings down what it means. Okay. Why he has to do this, I don't know. I'm sorry. I had it yesterday. See it. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? That's life. This is some songs. Okay. All right. I thought I was going to make things easy, and I didn't make them easy. So let's forget about this. Should I try it again? I'll try it again. Okay, try it again. Here we go. Shir Shirim 8:1. Is it going to work? Let's see. Here we go. Mi yiten lecha ka'achli. Who will make you a brother to me? Yonek shadei imi. We will nurse from the breasts of my mother. So it says, who will make you like a brother to me? That was in the Holy Temple when the two faces were facing each other. How can we be like a brother? God and us can be brothers, like a, sort of on equal footing with the Torah. By nowadays, by Yanek Mishada Imi, by nursing from the breasts of my mother, said the Rebbe, that is the Talmud, the oral Torah. Because again, the Torah is God's will and God's wisdom. And the rabbis knew how to manifest this. Right? You got these people that go to India, whatever, and they sit in mountains, and these monks, they sit in this, and they meditate, and they think that it's because they want to get close to God. Well, these people also want to get close to God, but God is in the Torah. Who would dream a thing like that? God, these people in the other religions, they want to be spiritual. The Torah is the source of the spiritual. And that's the essence of the Jewish people. So it says when the Jews learn, that's Shadaimi, that's the oral Torah. That's what's called the Talmud. I will find you outside. That we learned yesterday. That's the working men. Okay. Esha kacha, I will kiss you. Kam lo yabuzu. They will not let's say embarrass me. They won't embarrass me. Okay, that's a sentence. Now here we got a bunch of explanations, but before we get to the explanations, let's do the next sentence. 1 second, 8:1. Now we do. How do we get to the next page? There must be a way to do this. 1 second. Oh, how do we get to the next page? 8:1. All right, let's just do 8:2 then. Here we go. Ready? All right, good enough. Next sentence. Yeah. Oh, here. Who will make you like a brother? That's what I wanted in the beginning. Okay. Second sentence. I will bring you to the house of my mother. Talandani, and teach me. I will make you drink from wine, a rakach, fragrant wine, rimoni, and we will, whatever it is, bubbling up my pomegranates. Okay, let's talk about this. Here we go. This is talking about the relationship between God and the Jewish people. Ready? Yes. Let's go. Okay, that's what it means. The second sentence, it says, so we said that it says, I will take them outside. It says, I will find you outside. That's talking about people that are working men that can't learn the Torah all the time. They can't learn the Torah all the time, so they can't be united with God all the time. Says the Rebbe, don't worry about it. God wants us to work. But in the time that we do work, the time we find to learn the Torah, that also makes us connected to God. That's what it means. I will find you outside. Even the working men, this bigger. Sorry for all these terrible delays. Here we go. Even the working men, even the working men can find God when they're outside. In other words, they're outside of the place of learning. They're outside of the holy situations, and they're in their shop or in their office or in the street or wherever they're working. Because by means of their working in the world, in their offices, in their business, but they're using the world the way that God wants. That says it raises up sparks of meaning, sparks of life, and they united with echad, with the oneness of God. The Kol Yisrael and all of the Jewish people, they all do this. All the Jewish people do it. Because it's a law in the Gemara, Sheparsha Rishona, that the first chapter of Shema Yisrael, the first sentence of Shema Yisrael, so Kavana, you have to have the proper intention. What is the proper intention? You're thinking about God. Pasuk Rishon, the first sentence you have to have. Some people say the Parsha Rishon means the first paragraph, but everyone agrees that the first sentence has to have. What's the first sentence of Shema Yisrael? Shema Yisrael is a sentence in the Bible. What is it? Deuteronomy 4:6. Is that right? Is a sentence in the Bible. And what does it mean? It means that God is one, means that there's nothing except for God, but we don't see it, we don't feel it. God is creating the world. Through the Torah, we do feel. Says the Rebbe, but these people are not learning the Torah. These are people that work all day. So he says, just saying Shema Yisrael, which is a sentence in the Torah, and the implications of these sentences is that I am being, you, me, everyone is being created by God. And God wants us to be exactly the way we are. And that which we are, we have to devote that to the Creator. That's called Mesirut Nefesh, self-sacrifice in one. What does it mean in a simple way? It means that when I'm in a business, I don't cheat because God says I shouldn't do it. And I want to do what God wants. I don't steal because God says I should do it. I shouldn't do it. I shouldn't steal. And I want to do what God wants. Every available moment I have, I say a nice word to somebody. I say a kind word. I try to learn a little bit of Torah. In the middle of the shop, I say a word from the Torah. All of the Jewish people have this level, even though that it's not actual, but it's potential in even the most simple Jew. And by means of this, you elevate everything you do to God. I think I told the story about 500 times, but I'll tell it again. There was in the 50s, when was it? A Jewish pitcher. His name was Sandy Koufax. I think he's still alive. And he was not a religious Jew at all, totally not. And it came Yom Kippur, and he decided he wasn't going to pitch. Why did he not want to pitch on Yom Kippur? Why? He was not a religious Jew, so he wasn't thinking about going to heaven, and he wasn't thinking about pleasing the rabbi, and he wasn't thinking about pleasing his friends, right? And he's not he's thinking about pleasing his team. He just because he's a Jew. There was also a Jew before, Hank Greenberg. He did it years before that. But the Rebbe talked about this Sandy Koufax. What motivated him to keep Shabbat? I mean, who was the pitcher on the ultimate day in America? This was like the World Series, and he was the pitchers like the center. World Series was at that time. I don't know how it is nowadays. That was like the center day for America. The World Series in baseball, and he was on the best team, and he was the best man. He was on the pitcher. He was standing on the mound. The whole world was watching him, or at least all America was watching him. And suddenly he said, completely not according to his personality, according to the way, he said, Yom Kippur today, I'm a Jew. I'm a Jew. He didn't get money for it. He didn't get pleasure for it. He's not going to heaven. He's not worried about going to hell. He pitched before. I think he pitched afterward. He pitched on Shabbat. He pitched on Shabbat. What did Yom Kippur? What happened? Suddenly he felt, I'm a Jew, and a Jew doesn't work on Yom Kippur. That's what he says. Even the most simple Jews, that their connection to Judaism is the weakest connection. Nevertheless, that's called Mesirut Nefesh. He gives his soul away. Your soul is like what your personality. You want to increase yourself. You want to have more money and more popularity and more this. To give it away for no reason, just to the creator of the universe, right? Either you can say it's crazy, bring the picture, giving it up for that, it's crazy, or you can say that it's a different type of crazy. You're being crazy for the truth. Give me meaning or give me death. By means of this, mitalim kolasaka, by means of this, just one thing, it lifts up all of what you do to the one God. It lifted up all of baseball, as valuable and as wonderful and as expensive and etc. and as profitable as baseball is. Not pitching on Yom Kippur, God is more valuable. Suddenly it elevated the whole entire thing. You realize that God is the boss of the world. Somehow or other, he's more important than being the pitcher for the winning team. If so, Hari Masava Matan, when a Jew, when he works in business, whom me'ayin is something like it is how God is called Koneh Shamayim V'Oretz. Remember we learned that yesterday, that God is also a businessman. On Shabbat, so to speak, he pulls all of the work that he did in the work, or all the investment that he made in the 6 days of creation, he pulls it back into his domain. Shabbat, God is visibly the boss of the world. So God is a businessman. In 6 days he expends energy and so to speak, to buy it, and then he takes it into his possession, the whole world, on Shabbat. So the Jews, in that way, they simulate God, which, by the way, that's the reason why it says that a non-Jew is not supposed to keep Shabbat, because Shabbat is not just a day of rest; it's a day of God. It's a day of God, but it's the day of the God of the Torah. And so on these Jews that they work and they take a little bit of their time to serve God, Hine Anarabah, and those are the ones that says Eshakecha, I will kiss you. Right? Let's go back to the sentence. Where is the sentence? Here we go. Oh, I want this here. That's what it says. It says, Bechutz Ashakacha, I will kiss you. Outside, I will find you outside and I will kiss you. Kisses is a deep relationship with God. When God gave the Torah, we heard God's speech. And in the Song of Songs, right in the beginning, in the Song of Songs, it says that I will kiss him with the kisses of my mouth. That's talking about the secrets of the Torah. Yeah. So it says that even more, specifically by the working man, that he can't learn Torah all the time, but it takes a little bit of time to learn Torah. And also when he's working, he works according to what God wants. The Rebbe said this a lot of times. In America is based on this. America is based on this. On the coins, I think all the currency in America is written on God. In God we trust. Is it written on the coins also? I have a couple of coins. One second. Let me look. One minute. I got a quarter. Here it is. It says, does it say in God we trust? Yes. Yes, right. It does. On the quarters, I think on all the currency, it says, "In God we trust." It doesn't say in God we believe. We believe. Belief is intellectual. It's like I believe religious thing. Trust means even with your money. That's already not a religious thing. The trust in God says when a Jew, therefore, when he works in the world and he trusts in God, he's not just doing it because his conscience tells him to do it. That's also true. But he's doing it because God himself tells him to do it. And that's the importance of what's called the prayer of a Baal Esek, of a working man. That's what's called eskafia. He forces himself. The Torah Ohr, a better type of light, comes from the darkness. A person who sits and learns the Torah all the time, so he's thinking about God, he's thinking about the Torah, he's thinking about what he's learning. But a person who's in business, he's thinking about his business. He has to improve his product. That's good. He has to have an honest product, a good product. He has his customers. He has to fulfill their desires. He has to be an honest businessman. He has to be a productive businessman. So he's thinking about business. All of a sudden, in the middle of the day, he has to stop and pray. Stop thinking about the world and think about the Creator. That's called eskapia. That's called forcing yourself. That's called self-control. And when you control yourself to think about God, to get even emotional about God, it says this is called kissing. God kisses a person like that. Wow, this is amazing. It's like a soldier, right? A soldier. A normal person, there's problems, he runs away. A soldier runs toward the problem. He's working in the world, and he's running toward the world. Usually a religious person doesn't want to have that much to do with the world. But nevertheless, it's certain times of the day he takes a break. That's what it says. Gila, this level of revelation of God to a working man, when he breaks his normal pattern of thought and desire about the world, and he breaks it just even for a few minutes, and he thinks about God, and he brings that awareness of God into every moment of his day. This is only, this is what's called a kiss. God kisses a person like that, like a kiss, because of the tremendous love. You can't explain it in words. It is expressed in kisses. That's, like I said, that's how the Song of Songs begins. He has kissed me with the kisses of his mouth. That's talking about the days of the Moshiach, when the secrets of the Torah, the godliness of the Torah, will be revealed. One second, where is this end over here? Actually, we could learn this. Okay. So the Rebbe says, look what it says in another mimer. It's called Shira Shirim. It says, this is the Tzemach Tzedek. This is the grandson of the Rebbe, first Rebbe of Chabad, explaining. It says this idea of being a brother to God comes that the God and us are on like a similar footing. When God gave the Torah, he brought himself down, so to speak, to the world. And he brought the Jews up, so we're sort of equal. By means of us, both of us, suckling from the breasts of my mother. What's that? That both of them, both us and God, so to speak, or God, how he reveals the Torah in the world, are nursing from one source, namely from the Torah, which the Torah is what's called God's wisdom and understanding. That's called mother and father. According to the in the Kabbalah, whatever, there's 10 aspects of God's personality, which correspond to the 10 aspects of our personality. And 3 of those aspects of God's personality are intellect, and that's the Torah. Chachma and Bina, that's called mother and father. That's the Torah. Then we're called brothers. But by means of us working in the world and stopping ourselves working in the world to control ourselves, that's called surrendering ourselves, yesh tayin. That's, so to speak, something that God can't do. God can't stop himself, self-control, that God wants to do something that's wrong or that wants to do something that's mundane, and he holds himself back from doing it because it's not the right thing, and he has to take a break. God doesn't do those things. When we do it, it's, so to speak, a novelty to God. That's called surrendering ourselves, yesh, our feeling that we're separate, to ayin, that God is, we feel that God doesn't exist, not like we do. When a working man who feels himself to be a separate entity, which he is, and he has to be a good businessman, and he surrenders himself to the source of the Bali Yasikim, then it says an amazing thing happens. When we control ourselves, in order to stop doing what we want and to yes do what God wants, even for a moment, is that Istalik Yakoda the Kodesh Baruch Hu, it says that there spreads out the glory of God above. This gives God pleasure. It's like the sacrifices in the temple. Or there's drawn down God's pleasure, God's light, in a way of ayin, this, so to speak, of the nothingness of God, that God is not a thing. He creates everything. This is revealed in the world. Shehu Makar Torah, that's the source of the Torah. The Torah is a book. The Torah has words in it, just like the world seems to be separate, and the world is, everything in the world is also created from God's speech. But the fact is, it all comes from God. So it's coming from God every instant, brand new. And that's through the Torah. The Torah is the means by which God creates the world. So the Torah is a revelation of God, a very deep one, though. That's why it was in the Holy of Holies. But it still is only a revelation of God. And the world is a revelation of God. But that's a much lower revelation. By means of the Torah, a Jew learning the Torah, it unites them both together. The Nimshach then is revealed, this revelation of God, into what's called Zer Anpin, the emotions of God. That's the 6 days of creation, the 6 days of the week. In Canaan. So then the Jewish people and God, they become like an equal footing. We become like a brother to God. That both of us, both how God comes into the world, the Torah, and the Jewish people, they receive both of them from the one source, which that's the source, is this level of what's called the breasts of my mother. This is what's called the crown of God, which is above Chachma and Bina. So Chachma and Bina, that's the wisdom of God and the understanding of God. That's the Torah. And the Jewish people, when they learn the Torah, then both the Torah and God, and the Torah, and the Jewish people, the Torah is God. And the Jewish people, they receive from the same source, which that's called God's crown. Another name for God's crown is God's will, or even deeper, God's pleasure. That's when it says in the Torah that when Jacob, he blessed his children, that Moses, when he blessed them, Zevulun came before Yisachar. It says Zevulun, they were the working men. From Zevulun came the working men of the Jewish people. And Yisachar, he sat and learned Torah all the time. But Zevulun, it says, was blessed before Yisachar was blessed, because the working man in some ways is more important than those people who sit and learn Torah. They both need one another. They're both brothers. But somehow or other, the working man is more important. It's something like in Israel now, you got this big argument going on about the army. In some ways, the soldiers are more important than the people who sit and learn the Torah. They both need each other. And the soldiers also have to learn Torah. But the fact is, the soldiers are involved in the world. And the world that's the reason the whole Torah is talking about the world, how God created the world, and the world is very important to God. So working in the world, that raises up sparks or units of life, units of meaning, units of godliness, which are trapped in the world. By using the world properly, and especially by learning Torah and praying in the world, then that elevates the world. That's Zevulun. Zevulun is working in the world. And he is before Yisachar, which Yisachar just sits and learns Torah all the time. You can see that it says, V'yanashek Lavan, it says that Lavan kissed his sons and his daughters. It says he kissed his sons, Lavan. Now, according to Chassidut, according to everything written in the Torah has a spiritual source. And the spiritual source of everything is good, and it's holy. Okay, that's a big question, but nevertheless, that's true. So here's one example. Lavan was the father-in-law of Jacob, Yaakov, and he tried to kill him, Lavan, and he cheated him up and down. But it says after Jacob worked in the house of Laban, and he had all the sheep, and he had all the children, and etc. That he came out. It says that Laban came and he kissed his sons. Who are the sons that he could? His grandsons, sons of Jacob. So Laban's daughters were Leah and Rachel. His daughters were Rachel. So the sons of Leah and Rachel, those are the 12 tribes. So he kissed his sons. She'em Ashvatim, these are the tribes. They're also called his sons. And Lavan refers to the Loven Elyon, the upper whiteness of God. That's like God's crown. Ki b'nei banim, because grandsons are also in the Torah, also called sons. So that's what it means. That you will be like brothers to me, all the 12 brothers. The 12 brothers all received they got kisses from Lavan, which Lavan refers to the upper whiteness. Lavan means whiteness. The upper whiteness, they all received. You have to remember, we're talking about the mysteries of the Torah or the interpretations of the Torah. The Torah that we see that's given to us is true, but it contains levels upon levels of meaning. And only truly God-fearing Jews that know the whole Torah can tell what this meaning is. I mean, anybody can look in the Torah and tell what some meaning. You can make things up, right? You can make anything up you want to in the Torah. But there's proper meanings. They're proper meaning. So he says that's what we're talking about here. The superficial meaning of the Torah, which is also true. There was a human being and it was called Lavan. He was a very bad guy. And he wanted to kill Yaakov, and he said everything. But the source of that was what's called the upper love and the upper whiteness. Vayashken Lavan Baboker is how God blesses everyone first thing in the morning. Lavan says Lavan kissed all of his sons, that all of the Jewish people, the Zvulun and Yisachar, the working men, the learners of the Torah, they all became one. They all received from the same source. So it can be also that the Jewish people, they receive from this level of ayin. That's Lavan, the source of Chachma Bina, which is called a father and mother. So Yaakov kissed Lavan kissed everybody. They all became equal. It says Joseph. Okay, that's what it means. Anagacha, I will conduct you. I will bring you to the house of my mother. To the house of my mother. This is the level of Torah, like we said before. And this is also working men. That's the next sentence. So we try the next sentence again. Try that again. Every time. Oh, yeah, here it is. Here it is. Good. First sentence. This is 8th chapter of Song of Songs. Again, just to remind everybody again, the Song of Songs is 8 chapters of metaphors. It has no simple meaning. If you think you know the meaning, you're wrong. You have to look at Rashi. You have to look at the different explanations. They're genuinely God-fearing genius Jews that know the whole Torah, and they explain what these sentences mean. And sometimes the explanations contradict one another. Sometimes the explanation, which that is not a contradiction, because there's 70 faces to the Torah. Okay, so it says, who will make you to a brother to me again, that we should have the relationship with God like it was in the Holy Temple? And then it says, en hagacha, I will lead you, I will bring you to the house of my mother. I will kiss you with the wine. I'm sorry. I will give you to drink from fragrant wine. Let's say fragrant. Let's take the fragrant wine first. Okay, what's going on over here? God is talking about God and the Jewish people, right? So God says, I will take you to the house of my mother and I will give you to drink fragrant wine. What is this fragrant wine? That's what it says. I will bring you to the house of my mother. This is the level of the Torah, because even working men, it's talking about the working men, that they're outside. They also once in a while have to set themselves time, like every day, for learning Torah. Even though that their main work is by means of, now this is talking about Jews here. This is talking about Jews. The whole sentence is talking about Jews. Non-Jews are not supposed to learn the Torah. There's no commandment of learning the Torah. They can learn the Torah as far as to know what to do. They can learn the Torah to know what God tells the Jews. But like learning the Talmud, they're not supposed to. You can read the works of the Torah and read Rashi, read explanations. So you don't make mistakes in interpreting the Torah. But normal, regular Jews, they're supposed to sit and learn Torah, which basically means learning the Talmud, learning Mishnah, learning Medrash, learning Chassidut. It says, therefore, a regular working man, he has to set times for learning Torah, and that's what's called eskafia. That's what's called forcing yourself. And also, he has to give charity from the money that he makes. When you make profit in your business, and you should make a big profit in your business, you should make billions of dollars in your business. And after you make a profit in your business, you do it with in mind, I'm going to give charity. And you judge yourself how much I need, and all the rest you give to charity. Now, that's not a usual thing, because usually people will say, listen, I know how much I make. I make $1 million a year, right? And I'm going to give 20% to charity. All of a sudden, when he starts to give the money, he thinks, listen, once again, I can invest this money, and I'll make more money, and then I can give more money to charity. So you know what? Instead of giving 20%, I'll give 10%. I'll give 10% to charity. There was one person that came to the Rebbe once, and he said, Rebbe, I'm supposed to only give 10% to charity, and I give too much. People come, and I'm giving them money. I'm giving too much money. I want permission just to give only 10%. The Rebbe said, yes, you have to write down how much charity. First of all, 1 month, just give charity like you always give. But write it down, what you give, and at the end of the month, make a calculations, what percentage you gave, and give only 10%, not 1 penny more. The man said, that's what I'm going to do. Thank you, Rebbe. As it is, I'm giving 30%. Who knows how much? Because I don't make a... So he did exactly what the Rebbe said. And at the end of the month, he gave, and he wrote it all down. At the end of the month, he made a computation. And how much did he give? 2%. To him, it seemed like he was giving his whole liver away, right? He was giving out, I'm tearing out my heart for these poor people. I'm giving 20%, and then he was giving 2%, right? To him, it just seemed everything. So the Rebbe said, make a computation, how much money you need, right? And the rest give to charity, or at least give a big portion to charity. But charity is very essential. So you're forcing yourself. You're working all day for the money. Oh, the money, got money. And then you're giving money to charity. And also you take precious time when you could be making more money, and you take that time out and you pray to God. And what are you praying for? That God should make a better year, that God should heal the sick. You're not praying for yourself, right? I don't know anybody who's sick. I'm not the... Machshava dibur, your thought and your speech should be making set times for learning Torah of the working man. That's what it says. I will take you to the house of my mother, and I will get and I will drink you, give you to drink this fine wine. It says, therefore, even the people who learn Torah, that the ones that says that I were nurturing for the breasts of my mother, and that's all constant. That's what's constant. I'm always nurturing from the breasts of my mother. Those people who sit and learn Torah all the time, they're nurturing from what's called the understanding of God. Breasts in human beings are the place of the heart, which is the heart is called the place of understanding. The heart understands. Those people get the that they work day and night at the Torah. That's wonderful. That's like being a brother. But Bali Esakim, people who working men, that they only learn times for learning Torah once in a while. It says, I will bring you into the house of my mother. What does it mean? I will bring you to the house of my mother and give you, once in a while, I will bring you into the house of my mother, that we sit and learn Torah in the middle of the day. And there's a lot of people that do this. I know that there are people in the Diamond District here in Israel, and they take time out. There's a lot of Jews that do Torah mitzvahs, but they're also businessmen, and they're very good businessmen, and they're devoted businessmen, and they take out time, precious time, every day, a half an hour, whatever, and they pray the mincha prayer, and they learn a Mishnah, they learn something. It says, I will give you to drink from tasty wine. What is this tasty wine King Solomon is talking about? King Solomon is talking about the working man, that he sits and he learns Torah once in a while. That he gives tasty wine. This is wine which makes God happy. Wine is the wine of the Torah. Wine is a very interesting thing. When wine looks like every other drink, it looks like every drink. It looks like lemonade or something. You drink lemonade or something that's water, so it quenches your thirst. Wine also quenches your thirst, but it does something inside of you. So it says the Torah is the same way. The Torah is called water, but there's also the wine of the Torah. The wine of the Torah does something inside of it. There's something godliness inside of the Torah. This is what's called the Bina. This is what's called God's understanding. This is the oral Torah. And that makes you happy because God, it makes Elohim, that's the name of God, which is Elohim. That makes God, but the aspect of God which is concealed, the world, it makes God happy. What does it mean? That it reveals more godliness in the world. When a person is happy, he reveals himself. He comes out of himself. That's what means happiness. It means you reveal yourself. You come out of yourself. So when you learn Torah, there's the secrets of the Torah, or at least the understanding of the Torah, that gives a little more, how do you say, meat to the Torah. It's like the wine. It brings out something that was hidden in the Torah. You bring out the hell and the hesed, the concealment, by means of this level of being understanding. This is the happiness of the Torah. This comes out from the understanding. Listen, what is understanding? Just think about it 1 second. Understanding is really what makes you happy. Understanding makes you happy, right? You needed $1 million for, for a wedding, and someone comes and gives you a check, but you don't know if the check is good or not. As soon as you understand it's good, then you're happy. Or let's say someone comes to you and they call you up on the phone. Listen, you don't need the money. You don't need the money. The wedding hall said they'll give it to you all for free. Don't need the money. Oh, you're happy. Really? I don't believe it. You just heard something. As soon as you understand something, there has to be the thing there. It has to be real. But the understanding of it, that's what makes you happy. It means that the inner content is not concealed. That's the Torah. You read the Torah, wonderful. But if you understand the Torah properly, and especially that it's God's Torah, and you're learning, even if you understand something very superficial, but you understand it, and you realize it's God's Torah, it adds a little bit of happiness. It's like revealing that the check has really got covered. Or that's what it means. I will give you to drink wine. But wine, rakach, says the tasty wine, fragrant wine. This has a good smell to it. A fragrant wine. So what's the Rebbe trying to do over here? We're going to continue this tomorrow. What's the Rebbe trying to do over here? The Rebbe is trying to tell us how precious the Torah is. The Rebbe is trying to reorient us how incredibly, incredibly holy and valuable and alive and blessed that the Torah is, to learn the Torah. Now, again, this is for Jews, but on the other hand, non-Jews have to appreciate the fact that God gave his Torah to the world and that the 7 Noahide commandments are from the Torah. A non-Jew has to do the 7 Noahide commandments only because they're written in the Torah, not because they're good and they're logical, which they are. But if you do it because of logic, your logic will change. You feel it's for your benefit. You do the 7 Noahide commandments, you feel it's for the benefit of the Creator. The Creator gets happy. But when a Jew learns the Torah, it's a commandment for the Jews to learn the Torah. When a Jew learns the Torah and he understands it, that itself simulates the Holy of Holies when the Jews were one with God. And not only does it simulate, it activates, it makes it really happen. Maybe you don't feel it, but the Rebbe really does feel it, and he's telling you that's what's happening. So it's, so to speak, we're kissing God, and God kisses us, and that we're drinking this wine that makes us happy, makes God happy. It makes the world happy. When a Jew learns the Torah, the inside of the Torah, that's the incredible power of the Torah. The Torah is, yes, a book, but it's not a book at all. Not at all a book. It is the wisdom and the will of God right now. It's not just an anatomy book telling you about what a person looks like. The Torah is the anatomy of God. And when a Jew learns it and unifies it with it, it activates, so to speak, God, which God is creating the whole world, makes the whole world better. That's what the Torah does. As we'll talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. Now let's do the Yom Yom. 1 second. The Devar Malchut. By the way, Chodesh Tov to everybody. This is the first day of Adar today. Okay.